Rhuddlan village and castle. The village is very picturesque with a rich history dating back over 3,000 years. And the name's derived from the Welsh word meaning red bank. It first appeared in recorded history in the last years of the 8th century, when there was no town of Rhyl. There's a lot of videos on YouTube about Rhuddlan Castle, so I'll just give a brief history, and then I'm going to attack the legends and ghost stories, which I don't think many have done. The river Clwyd and the marshes of its estuary, now reclaimed, drained and cultivated, back in time formed a natural barrier from side to side of the coastal approach to the mountainous heart of North Wales. And its position marked it out as a key strategic point for some 600 years. And during the reign of King Offa of Mercia, 757 onwards, and the great dyke which bears his name runs very close to Rhuddlan Castle. And it's outlining the beginning of the hill country from Prestatyn to the Bristol Channel. Although many people think originally the dyke may have been much older, a construction reused by Offa. And a century later, in the year 921 I think it was, King Alfred's son, Edward the Elder, established an earth and timber fort, or burh, as part of the defences against Scandinavian raiders here. We next hear of Rhuddlan in 1063, and it's a rural seat of Llywelyn ap Gruffydd, and the base from which the powerful prince, actually considered the last true king of Wales, plundered the English lands as far as Oswestry and Wrexham. And at the command of William the Conqueror in 1073, a new castle of the Motte and Bailey pattern, which marked every stage of the Norman penetration, was thrown up at Rhuddlan. Then there was King Edward I in the 1200s, also now known as Edward Longshanks, and he liked his castles to be on the coast. It was safer that way generally, but Rhuddlan, 7 miles inland, was different, so the plan was to use the river instead. But there was just one problem. The meandering Clwyd river wasn't quite in the right place. So Edward conscripted hundreds of ditch diggers to deepen and divert its course. And more than 7 centuries later, Rhuddlan still looks like a castle that was worth moving a river for. The legend of Rhuddlan. Rhuddlan was the beautiful daughter of the King of North Wales and was betrothed to Morven, Prince of South Wales. It was a union intended to forge a peace between the two nations during these times of conflict. But the fair Rhuddlan objected to this political union and prayed to anyone who would listen to help her get out of this marriage, and it seems that her calls were answered. And one day, while following the royal hunt, the princess became lost, and with darkness falling, terror gripped her soul. Suddenly a figure rode out of the shadows, and the most handsome knight she had ever seen appeared before her. He lifted her onto a horse and carried her back to her father's castle at Rhuddlan. And the anxious king was overjoyed when the black-clad warrior, blood-red plumes upon his helmet, rode into the courtyard with his daughter. Now, sadly, this was not a chivalrous knight, but a fully fledged demon from hell, determined to wreck the peace between the two nations. To that end, he cast a spell upon the princess, and she found herself unable to resist when he suggested that she elope with him. And that was not the worst bit. Rhuddlan was convinced by the knight to murder her father during her escape from Rhuddlan Castle. As the two of them made their way to the nearby river, the so-called bold knight reverted to his true form, and the princess recoiled in horror at the slimy grey creature to which she had eloped with. And as the demon revealed his devilish plot to Rhuddlan, he stabbed the princess through the heart with a trident that sprang from his claws from her hellish tormentor, and lifting the princess's lifeless body onto his scaly arms, the creature flung her into the river Clwyd. With devilish cackle of grim satisfaction, leapt in after her. Now, anyone who may be tempted to dismiss this tale as an idle legend and ponder why the demon didn't just slay the unfortunate Rhuddlan in the forest on their first meeting should listen to the ghostly screams and demonic laughter that have curdled the blood of many passers-by in the dead of night. Furthermore, had the demon knight done the dastardly deed beneath the forest canopy when they first met, he may well have been denied the pleasure of chasing a spectral Rhuddlan round the ramparts of Rhuddlan Castle, night after night, till such a time as hell freezes over. A ghostly archer spotted at Rhuddlan Castle in Wales. His eyes are black, and he looks like he's drawing on a bow and arrow. A 58-year-old man took the picture of his two daughters smiling in front of Rhuddlan Castle in Wales on a trip when they were aged 10 and 6. This was more than a quarter of a century ago. But it was only when the man was flicking through some old photos recently he spotted a haunting figure stood inside an alcove of the castle, looming in the background. And it does appear you can see a mysterious figure lurking behind the children. There is a lane that runs between the castle and the village, and it's said to be haunted by a number of terrifying apparitions that include a group of dwarfish men carrying picks and lamps. And according to a witness, they spoke an unusual language, and this was in the 1950s. However, what frightened him more were the three faceless 7-foot tall cloaked and hooded figures that led them, and they barged him into a hedge where he passed out with fright. But weirdly, in the 1970s, excavations conducted in the location by the University of Exeter revealed the site of a Norman church and the grave of a very small man. There's also a regular apparition of a man wearing a cloak and a wide-brimmed hat and covered in mist. It has been witnessed outside a house near the castle.